So we're going to start in a child's pose today, and we're going to set up with both of the blankets folded longwise so that you can double stack them. And we'll take the knees nice and wide and get your body settled into the floor. So take the knees wide, big toes together. Take up some space. You can draw the blankets in just a little bit closer so maybe your belly can hang onto it. Your chest can rest down. You can pick a cheek or you can stack the hands, whatever works best for the back of the neck. But give yourself plenty of space so that you can really let everything just kind of settle down into the blanket and toward the floor. We'll close the eyes here. Soften the shoulders. Soften the elbows. And take a deep breath into your nose. Fill up the back body. Open your mouth. Let that breath go. Do that again. Big breath in. Open mouth, exhale, release. One more breath here. Seal the lips, exhale out the nose, and let the body soften. You're going to take these first couple minutes just to settle into the floor. If you've had kind of a hectic day, things have been running through your mind, give yourself a moment to really just slow down the mind, slow down the breath. Get yourself anchored into things that are tangible. So feeling the ground underneath you, noticing how your hips are feeling here, your back, your shoulders, your neck. Smooth out the breath so that your exhale is as long as, or maybe a little bit longer than your inhale. And you can really give your body weight into your props and into the floor. Try not to hold back. There's a feeling of surrender as the front side of our bodies are our vulnerable side. We tend to think about the back body is kind of like your exoskeleton. If you were a little bug and something is attacking you, you would curl up into a ball, and the backside is what protects you. The underside is what's soft and vulnerable. So we are giving ourselves room to let this vulnerability open into the floor. And we want to lean into this vulnerability because we spend so much of our time trying to protect ourselves, protect our feelings, protect our egos, protect any negativity that might surround you or invade your day. And just soften on each of our exhales, a little closer to the floor, a little closer to the floor, giving ourselves into this nice grounding posture. Now, if you're working one side of the head turned one way, go ahead and switch sides to the other side so that you don't end up with a crick in your neck over time. And scan to make sure that your jaw is relaxed. Shoulders aren't trying to scrunch up near your ears. You're able to soften even your gaze. Your eyes might be closed, but sometimes continue to hold a firm gaze on something. So relax the eyes, relax the eyebrows. Stay here for about 5 more breaths. And then gently press up onto hands and knees. We're just going to start to take some really slow circles, putting a little more weight into the hands and sinking it back toward the heels. Pick a direction, doesn't matter which way you start. And then we'll go in the opposite direction. And then sit back onto the heels. We're just going to do a little wrist stretch here. So you're going to put the backs of your hands together. Fingers are pointing down. You're going to lift the heels of the hands up, drop the elbows down, stretching into the back of the wrists. Give it one more breath here. And then we'll release. We're going to turn your blankets sideways. So now we have a little lift here. You're going to put your elbows onto your blanket, palms together into prayer. Keep the hips up a little bit higher and then drop your heart down toward the floor. You can continue to move the hands to the back of the head. And because we have a blanket here, you've got a little rest for your forehead. You're going to let the chest drop down, the belly drop, the armpits flare open. Big stretch into the upper back. Take one more deep breath here. And then release the hands. And we'll press up. Find a simple cross-legged seat from here. And we're going to take some seated cat-cows. The hands in front of the knees. And we're going to take our inhale, draw the heart through, open the chest. And then as you exhale, tilt back into the pelvis. Draw the belly button in with the head tucked down. Inhale, rocking the pelvis forward. Heart comes through, lifts up. Exhale, rounding in. So take your time between these two. See if you can move one vertebrae at a time. Let your inhale carry you through. And emptying through the exhale. 2 more rounds here. One more inhale. Coming back to a neutral spine, we're going to switch the cross of the legs so that you have the wonky foot in front. We're going to take slow motion, kind of like a hula hoop action. So I want you to think about moving your ribs. So you're going to use the hands in front of you on the knees, and you're going to just pick one side. Let's say to the right. You're going to push those ribs over to the right, and then draw the ribs back behind you. Push the ribs over to the left, and then bring it back forward. So I actually take hula dance classes on Tuesday nights, and there's one direction. I'm not feeling it right now, so I don't think it's this direction, where I just feel little pops and cracks every time. So if you're feeling a little poppy and cracky right now, Just know that that's normal. I'm trying to just move things around. So right now we're going in a clockwise direction. If you ended up going counterclockwise, that's okay, because we're going to turn directions. Drawing the ribs back and over to another side, and back forward. Yeah, it's this direction. So these little pops and cracks might be imbalances that happen from the way we sleep or sit or stand. I tend to sleep on my left side, so rotating to the left first ends up moving some things. We'll try to fix some of these with some side bends in a moment. Last round going in this direction. And I'll sit up tall. You're gonna lace your hands, turn the palms up. Breathe and lengthen all the way up to the ceiling. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Take a big breath here. And we're gonna take a big twist to the right. Right hand goes behind you, left hand across to your right knee. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, find your turn. So each breath in is gonna lift you a little bit taller. Each exhale is gonna bring you a little bit deeper into the twist. Let's stay for one more breath here. Keep your left hand on your right knee and keep the chest turned to the right. We're going to take your right arm up and over, reaching past your left knee. So here we go into our side bend with a twist. Keep the chest rotating to the right. Stay for two more. And this left hand's holding you tight, keeping anchored in the twist. Last breath here. And bring it all the way back up. Release out of your twist. Sit in center just for a moment. See how things are feeling. You might feel some kind of lingering sensations in the side body that we just opened. One more breath here. Place the fingers, turn the palms, lift it up. Get long through the side body. Take another deep breath at the top. Good. Twisting over to the left this time. Left hand goes behind, right hand crosses. Big inhale, lift a little taller. Exhale, find your turn. Three more breaths here. Last one. Keep your right hand anchored on your left knee. Start to lift your left arm up past your right knee as you drop into your side bend. Take just two more deep breaths in. Bring it all the way back up. Here, we're going to come back onto hands and knees. Keep your blankets pretty close to the front of the mat. We can always draw them back in if you want a little something for under the head. All right, we're going to open your right arm to the sky. As you exhale, slide this right arm underneath the left armpit, dropping all the way to your ear and your shoulder. Use this left hand, press into the floor and slide your hips back toward the right a little. And now you have a few options to play with here. If you need more of a side stretch, you can walk your left fingers forward and long. If you want to traction out the right shoulder blade space some more, bring your left hand on top of the right and push this palm away. If you want to work a little bit of that left shoulder instead, you can wrap your left arm behind the low back. can try any of those other additional options, or you might just keep your left hand on the floor for support. So your choice. Find something that's comfortable, that gives you just enough sensation, and then we'll find stillness there and breathe. Three more breaths in. Bring the left hand back into the floor. Press and open. Inhale. Exhale, release. Let's do the other side. Left arm lifts up. Here's your breath in. Exhale, slide it all the way through. Rest the head on the ground or onto your blanket. Slide the hips back a little bit more toward the left. And then you decide if there's anything else that you want to add with this right hand. Wherever you end up, just make sure that you're not having to use a whole lot of effort to be there. We want to just get ourselves in the shape and then let gravity and time and breath take over. Stay here for 3 more. And bring your right hand back underneath you, press into the floor. Inhale, open, left arm to the sky. And exhale, release. All right, from here, we're going to tuck the toes and bring the knees together. We're just going to walk the hands back, and we're going to stretch out the bottoms of the feet. So you might keep the hands forward if this is already feeling like a lot of tension or opening through the arches of the feet. You're always welcome to bring the hands closer in. If you have blocks, I'm going to put blocks next to you. Or if it feels okay, come all the way up, sitting onto the heels. And we're going to turn the palms up if you are sitting completely on the heels. Soften the shoulders and close the eyes. We're going to stretch into the bottoms of the feet. I'm going to feel the stretch through the toes. Slow breath in. Slow breath out. Stay here, breathe in. Breathe out. Notice if your body's tensing back up against the stretch. What happens if you soften instead? What happens if you let go of that tension? Last breath here. Let's come back onto hands and knees. Tap out the feet a little. Blood moving back there. All right, from here, you're going to scoot your left knee into the center of your mat, and we're going to cross your right knee behind the left. So I've got left knee in the center, right knee is going behind the left. And you're going to try to walk your feet out to the sides of your mat, and here's maybe where you want some blankets handy. We're going to start to send the weight straight back behind, and you want to keep the knees as much in a line as you can. I'm about here with my hips today. If I go any lower, bad things will happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold one of my blankets. I'm going to bring it back behind me and see if that gives me at least a little something that I can lean into without my hips completely swinging to the left. So I'm going to swing the hips to the right just a little bit. You're going to start to feel it on that outer edge of your left hip into the glute. You can keep some of this weight forward if you like. You can even fold into this if it feels okay, or lean into it. So we're looking for a really deep stretch on that left hip. And then again, we come back to the breath and we see, how is your body reacting to this? Is the jaw clenching up? Is the breath tightening or getting stuck somewhere? And these big hip openers are ones where your body's going to immediately try to react to it. So this left glute might tighten up immediately and start to affect the low back, down into the hamstring. So keep an eye on that. I'm going to encourage the body to continue to let go and let go so that we can use the shade and the effects of gravity and the weight of our hips to gently ease and opening through the joints. Now, what might happen as we stay in a pose long enough is your body might start to really relax into it, and you might start to feel an opening. And that's great. You kind of just roll with those, you readjust a little, give yourself more room. The complete opposite might also happen, where your body just starts to react in a very negative way, and it's telling you to escape, exit, get out of there. And if that's the case, that's okay too, and you can ease out of it. We want to work with just enough sensation here. Really listen to the cues that your body's giving you. And know that every day is a little bit different. Each side is a little different. And try not to judge too harshly if one side is not cooperating as much as you'd like. I'm going to give this about 3 more breaths. I'm going to start to come back forward, lifting the hips. Whew. Gently uncross the knees. We're going to step the left foot to the back of the mat. And just give a little leans into the heels, a little wobble of the heels side to side, working that left hip. You can also lift your left knee and take some big circles through the hip. And then we'll get ready to set up on the other side. So you're gonna bring your right knee into the center of your mat, cross the left knee behind it, and then walk your feet out to the sides of your mat, trying to get the knees in the same line. We'll start to lean back, going straight back. Your hips are gonna wanna lean to the right. Find wherever your stopping point is. If you need a little extra cushion, feel free to add that. Ooh. We're gonna breathe. So start wherever your body's about 70% sensation. You don't ever want to jump in at 100% because then you have nowhere to go from there. So start about 70% of sensation, and then we start to ease into it, letting the hips get a little heavier, maybe playing with a little bit of forward lean. Slow down the breath. Notice if any other parts of the body are tightening here. Maybe it's the jaw or clenching of the teeth, scrunching of the eyebrows. And if you notice those places, just soften, relax. What can also happen is the body starts to relax, but the mind is still running. And if that's the case for you, drop back into physical sensation. Bring more awareness of what's happening within the body, what you can feel tactically, what you can feel internally. And use that as a way to anchor yourself in the present moment. We'll be here for about 3 more breaths. And then gently find your way back forward. Then cross the legs. You can either step this right leg back, take some movement through the right hip. Or you can play with taking those circles of the hip. All right, we're gonna bring our feet forward any way that you wanna get there. I'm gonna bring the soles of the feet together and letting the knees open out. Now, if you have really, really tight hips and your knees end up super high, I want you to add a little something under each thigh or hip. And then if your knees are a little bit lower, you can still add a little cushion here. What we want to do is just make sure that you're not having to hold your body up. We want to use our props for that purpose. You can play with how much distance that you want between your heels and the body. The further away they are, the less intense it'll feel, the closer in you'll feel it in the groin. So we're just going to play with, again, starting at about that 70% place. And then we're going to sit up nice and tall. First couple breaths, we're just going to work spine here, lengthening, letting the knees drop. Really allow those legs to get heavy, pressing against your props. Stay for one more breath. And then we're going to start to tip the pelvis forward. Keep the spine as long as you can. You can use your hands against the feet or along the ground. And start to take this into a forward fold until you feel just enough length in the spine. And then from here, we can really allow the body to soften and we can round. You might have blocks nearby. You can bring this under the head. You might have hands here for support. Anything that you need here to get yourself more comfortable. We're going to stay in the fold for a little bit of time. So give yourself some room for slow, gentle movements if your body starts to open, or room to back off of it if you come in a little too deep, too fast. Keep the back of the neck relaxed. Close the eyes. If you feel anything in the low back, back it up a little. Come up a little higher. Readjust the legs, and then slowly re-enter and see if you can ease back into it. Notice if there's any gripping or gritting of the teeth or even the fists. Keep the shoulders relaxed. 2 more deep breaths in. And gently come back up. And move your props out of the way. We're going to lean back onto the hands behind you. Set your feet a little wider. You're going to windshield wipe your knees side to side. The next time that your knees are over to the left, we're going to leave them to the left here. And then start to walk yourself up as much as you can. So you can continue to lean onto the hands, or if it's okay, you might be all the way upright. If this right hip is really far off the ground, grab a little something and slide it underneath and see if you can lean it down into that right hip. We're looking for a stretch here on the outer edge of your right hip, going into the thigh. Keep the face relaxed, jaw relaxed. One more breath here. And if you have any props underneath, you slide them out of the way. We're going to lean back onto the hands. Again, windshield wiper the knees side to side. And then the next time that your knees are over to the right, we're going to leave them on the right. Walk yourself up a little. You can continue to lean onto the hands, or if you're able to sit all the way upright, even if that means you need a little assist from a blanket, feel free to add that. Keep this left hip pretty heavy here. We don't want to be too lopsided. And again, slow the breath down. One more breath. And then we'll move any blankets out of the way. Again, you'll lean back onto the hands and she'll wipe the knees side to side. All right, we're gonna make our double stack of blankets again. Or if you have a bolster at home, you can use a bolster here. I'm gonna bring them to the front of the mat, just like when we had them in our child's pose. And we're gonna set up for a twist by stacking the knees first and make your knees point over to the left side of your mat. I'm gonna feel like a mermaid right now. And you'll bring the blankets all the way up to the right hip and use the hands on either side of your blankets. And we're going to turn the torso pointing down to the blankets. And then you can start to lower, maybe stacking fists or stacking palms, letting the head drop down. If you want to add a neck stretch, you can turn the head to the right as the knees point to the left. One more option here, if you want it, is to stagger the feet by just moving that left knee by your right foot. So the entire outer edge of your right thigh is on the floor, parallel to the front of the mat. Right knee pointing over to the left, adding the twist by turning the torso toward the floor. Relax the belly here. The breath is going to do a fair amount of work here because it's going to puff things up on the inhale. And it's going to give you a little bit more room to turn and get closer to the floor on the exhale. Take 3 more breaths here. And gently start to press back up. Turn all the way to the back of your mat here. And we're going to come just into a cross-legged seat. We're going to let everything kind of neutralize. Sit up tall. You're going to feel a little extra sensation through the lower belly. And when you're ready for the other side, you're going to come onto the outer edge of your left hip, left thigh. Start by stacking the knees first. Knees are pointing over to the right side of your mat. Hands on either side of your blanket. Turn the torso toward your blankets or bolster. And then start to lower yourself down. You can keep the knees stacked here if that feels better, or you can stagger the legs. Right knee coming towards your left foot. Last 2 breaths here. And gently press back up. Unwind out of your twist. Ooh. Again, we'll come into a simple cross-legged seat. Sit up tall. Let everything just neutralize that center. Notice what sensations are still lingering through the belly, through the back, or even in the hips. Stay for one more breath. All right, let's get ourselves comfy for the floor. So what I'm going to suggest here is taking one of your blankets and rolling it into a cylinder. And you'll put this one down toward where your feet are going to be. It's going to go underneath your knees. And then to get just a little extra height, put the second blanket on top of it. Now, if you have other cushions and blankets at home, feel free to add any amount of stuff. I also like keeping an eye cover. If you have one of these babies, these are really nice. So we're going to have a little elevation here of the knees. And you'll just let your feet kind of flop open, a little bit wider toward the back. You're going to roll your spine down. Make sure that your low back is happy here. You aren't ending up in some kind of back bend. You can really relax the belly down, pressing into the floor. We'll have the hands out to the sides, palms turned up. Or if you're feeling really ungrounded today, you might just bring a hand over the heart and one over the belly. If you have a towel or some kind of eye cover, I highly recommend one of these. Or if you want to just turn off all the lights and get dark and comfy, I'm gonna let you guys get set up first. Give yourself plenty of room, get closer to the floor, relax. Once you get your body settled, feel the shoulder blades into the ground. Let your knees, backs of the knees, rest onto your props. Soften the face, the jaw. We're going to take 3 cleansing breaths here together. Take a nice big inhale through your nose. Open your mouth and let that breath go. We'll do that again. Big breath in, fill up the belly. Open mouth, exhale, release. Last time, breathe in. Breathe out. Let your breath come back to normal. The gentle rise and fall of your chest and your belly. And as you scan through the body here, notice if you're still feeling anything residual, holding the toes, arches the feet, ankles. Relax those spaces. Notice if you're feeling tightening in the calves, around the knees, into the quads. Let those go. Feel the full weight of your legs dropping against your props and down into the floor. Feel the back of the hips pressing into the ground. The low back relaxing, belly is soft. Feel your spine resting along the floor, being held by the ground. You might feel subtle movements as you breathe in and out of the nose. expansion, contraction, ebbing, flowing, opening, closing. And in between those two ends of movement is a lot of middle ground. Everything's kind of in this constant movement and flow. And even as you get to the top of an inhale or to the bottom of an exhale, where there might be a nanosecond pause before it turns back around, continuing to move energy through the body, processing emotions that you might have been holding on to, dwelling on. We allow for anything and everything that might come up. Sometimes Shavasana brings about feelings of nervousness, worry, of restlessness. We allow for those little moments where something might be nagging at you and you just let it pass by. And usually, eventually, it passes by without any effort from you. Sometimes Shavasana can bring about feelings of anger, of agitation. You might even feel some heat rising in the body or your heart starting to beat a little faster. Know that that is also normal. And we try to just let it pass any way that it's moving through your body. And sometimes Shavasana can bring feelings of sadness, loneliness, of fear. And just like with any other emotion that might arise, we allow it to pass through, let it process, let it move. Sometimes those emotions change. And there's nothing that you need to do when those things come up. You don't need to fix any problems that arise. You don't have to find a solution in these few minutes. And we try to be a witness to them. Just observe them. Allow them some space. I'm going to think of all of these things that come up as clouds passing through the sky. And sometimes clouds move quickly, and sometimes clouds move very, very slowly. Sometimes clouds grow in size, and sometimes they dissipate, get wispy, and disappear. We try not to get too locked in or attached to any presentation of a thought or emotion as it rises. We can observe it, be a witness to it, acknowledge it, and ultimately we let it do what it needs to do and let it move on when it's ready to move on. More importantly, we'll let the back body rest down, continuing to be pulled down by gravity. And there isn't anything that you need to do here than to release a hold of your own body. Releasing tension in the muscles, releasing any resistance to letting go. And we put trust into the ground itself and Mother Earth underneath the ground here. And we put trust that you will be held. That whatever you can give into the ground is strong enough to hold it. Gently start to deepen your breath. Bring small movements back into your fingers, into your toes. Roll through the wrists and the ankles. Take your arms overhead. Reach everything long. Full body stretch here. Yawn and move your jaw around. You'll draw the knees into your chest. Roll over to your left, coming into fetal position. Give yourself a few breaths on your side. Pressing up with your hands, find a comfortable cross-legged seat. And we'll keep the eyes closed. Bring palms to touch at heart center. Let's seal our practice tonight with a single Om. First, take a full breath into your nose, fill up. Sigh this breath out. Inhale to chant. Namaste. All right. How did we do?